You're listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmeyer, right here on LA Talk Radio.
All right, time to start this train wreck. As most of you know, some of our favorite Combat Radio veterans, such as Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses, is on tour. I'd like to share his dates with you. Unfortunately, I don't know them off the top of my head, so go to gunsnroses.com. I also want to point out a couple of other interesting people who've done some time here, and that is the correct way to put it, have been sentenced to some Combat Radio community service, if you will. Dean Haglund, a good friend of ours from the X-Files fame and The Truth Is Out There, badass movie, has got a rather cool Kickstarter for a project called Shock and Awesome, which is something I recommend you check out. Also, Robbie Krieger of The Doors, the gentleman who was nice enough to play our Super Bowl event that was co-hosted by the San Diego Charger cheerleaders, has got some interesting things cooking, and I would suggest you go to RobbieKriegerJazzBand.com and find out about that. Mark Ryan, our intrepid co-host, who was Bumblebee and several other Transformers in the Transformers movie, including what looks like Transformers 4 coming up, is now in Denver at a convention, and we ourselves, Combat Radio, will be appearing at a convention here in Los Angeles in early July called PopCon, so I would say check it out. And you can come down and we'll basically loot the booth and do all the things that our Combat Radio listeners typically do. Bring a path of destruction to an otherwise rather complacent comic book crowd, and get busy with it. But here with us today, we've got a special guest coming up, but I've got a special guest co-host. One of our favorites around here at Combat Radio, sort of a super genius, a man who knows the ins and outs of conspiracy like few others do. The man that we always like to lean on when we've got absolutely no show and no foundation for a show because he can save it. Independent producer Phil Leirness.
Ethan, thank you for having me. I like to think that I just throw my arms around all the possibilities and embrace what wants to come forward. That's the alchemy that I bring to broadcasting in general, and hopefully today to Combat Radio. It is such an honor to be sitting in the seat that is so often filled by Mark Ryan. I do feel a little bit insecure because I didn't bring a sword. But I am armed, of course, with my razor-sharp wit, and I let you decide which you'd rather have on your side in battle.
Mark Ryan is good at bringing armaments into the room, that's for sure. And real quick, I also want to introduce one of our favorites back with us, a science teacher at UCLA. Most of you know him as Bagel, which is a nickname I hate, but his name is Jacob Goldstein, the Bagel, the guy who opened up for our Derek Forbes event for the City of Hope, the Universal/MTV Awards bash last year. Bagel, how are you?
Good. And I did bring.
Turn up your mic. I forgot you were on double secret probation last hour, and I turned your mic down. But go ahead.
No, I brought a sword, guys. I brought my sword. It's small. It's more of a dagger.
Now you know why Bagel is not more
now
successful.
I understand why the mic was down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you were too quick in bringing.
Where is the volume control? Let me actually see if I can.
Speaking of volume control, and other bad segues. I was thrilled to hear a couple of bars of the Superman theme at the top of the show. It's just, to me, another indication of what a shadowy reflection General Zod is on all of us at all times.
We have a lot of respect for General Zod, and I want to thank LA Talk Radio for putting the General Zod music cue right where the Combat Radio intro has been for 3 years. So now instead of dropping down to punch my cue to intro the show, I punch down and I punch Zod, and you've probably heard it several times. But let's be honest. If this show was technically on cue as a form of entertainment, no one would listen because the chaos is what makes it endearing to all of us.
Well, everyone would
wonder. Don't have our shit together.
Everyone would immediately think that Combat Radio had been pulled from the air.
Indeed.
And replaced with another show, a show that dances for the man.
Indeed. Actually, real quick, we have a special guest that's about to join us.
We do, and when you were kind enough to invite me to guest co-host today, you were also kind enough to say that I could invite any guest that I wanted. So naturally, I wanted to invite a mid-1960s Sophia Loren. She was unavailable, and again, as we discussed last hour, I've yet to master time travel. Though we're working on it, for The Truth Is Out There, too. Don't kid yourself.
Let me tell you, if you're producing a movie and you need Phil Leirness as assistant, intrepid and producer that he is, you better tell him his call time's 2 hours in advance of when you actually need him. Because that's the only way to get him there on time, and he'll walk in with some sort of scientific explanation like I was trying to master time travel, et cetera, et cetera. But we actually do have a great guest, and we're going to be back momentarily to introduce him to you, so everyone hang tight because the craziness, it just hasn't
wait, before
started.
you go, Phil, why'd the kid throw the time clock out the window?
Oh, Lord. To see a really bad, old, hoary punchline?
That's right.
All right, that's the bagel for you. And somewhere in internet cyberspace, he too has a website, although I can't recall it. But
It's called Craigslist.
yeah, the free section. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmeyer, right here on LA Talk Radio.